from Laura's book at some point, if you don't mind. Notes are here.
I don't mind at all.
Meetup. Okay. Okay. Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening. Let us know if you can hear us.
Oh, yeah, let me get the chat on here. We had a very short introduction because the other one, even though it was nice, we just like change.
Yeah, nice change.
So
right into the
let me
program.
go right into, apparently the music wasn't working this time. We'll work on that. Not us, but we thank Shauna for doing so much hard work on that. Do you see any chat? Yeah.
I didn't. I'm looking.
Okay. Well, while we're warming up, we should have been ready here, but here we go. So the topic tonight is Ascension, how high? So that's an interesting topic.
I hope we know what it means.
All right, here's the live chat. Okay. All right, let's see, going to the top. Yeah, I know.
Wow, that looks painful.
It does. Okay, my good wife, John Marciano. Okay.
What's that?
Yes, it's it. Okay, how is the volume? Everyone, can you hear us? We've got Faded in San Diego.
Hello.
And John Marciano, Beverly Harwood, Sky Graham, Dallas, ST Copilot, Ruby Quinn, Maverick, 587 Maverick. We know what the 587 is. Susan Gullion, Willie B. 933.
Hello.
Shaq, composer. Hi, Shaq. And that's it for now. So we'll watch as more come on. All right. And let's see. The volume is good, Beverly says. Thank you, Beverly. Okay, good. Very nice. Well, like we said, we had a very short intro, and we'll get right into the program. So we have a lot of time tonight.
Yeah. Did you want to start with the birthdays?
Sure. We go to our website, ExJWFriends.com. If you haven't familiarized yourself with it yet, we'll read it right here. So we have upcoming events on there. We have different letters and PDFs and videos. We'll start with the birthdays as soon as we can. All right. Okay, birthdays.
For June.
Okay, June 2nd, we have Gail White. June 5th, Vic Cruz. How do you want to do this? Do you want to take turns? Okay. June 6th, Gabriel Lemus, who's Dino's daughter. Annie's son. We know Annie on our program. It was her son's birthday. June 7th, Debbie Glander. John Drew. June 9th, Kent Ripple. June 10th, Ileana, 20 years old. June 11th. Is today June 11th? And I lost track of what today
June
is.
11th, today.
Today, happy birthday, Dwight Kincaid. June 12th, Al Zelinka. Let me know when you want
Oh,
to
go
jump
ahead.
in.
You have to.
June 13th, Yvette and Willow, Carol Ballard's granddaughter. June 14th, Dan Clark, Carrie Kay, and George Matthew.
And June 16th, Sarah Cummins. 17th, Chad Burns and Cece, 21 years old. June 18th, Jeff Heyman. June 19th, Nod. Not we know who that is. June 21st, Mark, our son, Stephen Winyard, and Albin. And 22nd, Laura Nat. June 23rd, Roseanne Paul. June 24th, Beverly Hayward. I think it's supposed to be Harvard.
Oh, yeah, they didn't change
Harvard.
it. Okay, Harvard.
Okay.
Sorry, Beverly.
So-
We'll get it.
Beverly Harvard. June 25th, Erica Chase and Luann Mandranico. June 26th, Heather Don and Linda Egan. June 27th, Natasha Peters and Rodney Carroll. June 28th, Lisa Smigel. 29th, Rob Burns and Sweet Quilly. Happy birthday to everyone.
Shauna, did Shauna's birthday song? Very nice. Thank you, Shauna. Shauna put that together for us. So happy birthday, all the June folks. And if we missed anyone,
Let us know.
yes, please.
And a birthday celebration is whatever is meaningful for you and yours.
June 15th.
Something you've never done before, something you always have done and like doing. Something that reminds you that you're glad you're alive and someone else is too, because we are. We're glad you're alive. Anniversaries this month.
Anniversaries, yes. June 1st, David and Tori Stanbaugh, 7 years.
June 7th, Matt and Linda Kiefer.
June 8th, Ray and Gwen, 51 years.
Wow. June 13th, Vern and Shauna, 10 years.
Coming up soon, June 25th, Wild Wall and Patty. So happy anniversary to all.
Yeah.
And if we missed any, please let us know.
I think we're not going to have an
Right,
anniversary
no
song.
anniversary song this time, but happy anniversary to you.
Yeah.
Very special, very special. Okay.
Upcoming events, June 14th at 2 p.m., meet up in Carlsbad, California. I don't have any details beyond that.
Well, they just tap on that. You just tap that
Okay.
on there, and the details are right there. You
August 1st
through August 3rd.
through the 3rd, still alive in 2025 ExJW convention or big meetup. And the September 26th at 6 p.m., and the 27th at 12, in Las Vegas, Nevada, ex-Jehovah's Witness meetup.
Mm-hmm.
October 2nd. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
There'll be a 5-day cruise, Carnival Firenze, and that's going to be October 2nd through October 7th. If anyone is interested, please tap on that. And The Real Love is putting that together, The Real Love. Now, there's one on there that we didn't get a chance to put up, but it's last minute, but it's going to be a good one this Friday, June 13th, starting at 6 p.m. It's going to be in Chandler, Arizona. It's going to be at the Mexicano. So I'm sorry we didn't get it up there. David was working on it. But again, it's anybody in the Chandler, Arizona area, this Friday, June 13th at 6 p.m., the Mexicano. And you can go online to check out the Mexicano and see the address, see what it looks like. It looks like a very nice place. And our friend Heather is putting that together. It's her first one. She's never been to a meetup, so it should be really very interesting. We're waiting to see how it turns out. So again, anyone in the Chandler, Arizona area this Friday, 6 p.m., the Mexicano. Just show up. No big deal. All right.
Yeah. And MJ, if you get any more problems, get help.
Oh, get them.
Apparently, he was threatened.
Really?
Yeah. Well, don't let that go.
No.
That's no small thing.
No, it isn't. Huh.
The idiot was protecting an employee and he didn't like it. Cops escorted him
Wow.
and got fired on the spot. Wow. Wow.
Idiot at work. And he didn't like it.
Nice work, MJ.
Yes.
Watch your
Laura.
back.
Yeah, Laura asked if you're okay.
Watch your back.
And yeah, we'll be thinking of you. I hope it works out. I'm absolutely okay. Just needed this distraction. Yeah, we all need a distraction.
That's right. That's right.
Faded, hello, Faded in San Diego. You're probably correct, at least. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about. Comedy, they're talking about the movies. So that's on ExJWFriends. If you go to the Discord part of ExJWFriends, Discord has movies after tonight's program. There's chats where you can chat with someone if it's 2:00 in the morning and you just get on and say, hey, is anybody up for a chat? And somebody will come on. And you can make free phone calls on Discord. There's games on there. So yeah, check that out. That was also Shauna put that together on Discord. So let's see, we did the meetups, we did Discord. Page 2 of ExJWFriends has all of our friends, therapists, and life coaches. And you can go there. There's Malia Thompson and Al Reno. Shannon and John just put an excellent podcast on Monday night. It's on Ruby's channel and also on Fixing My Faith. They're going to do a podcast every Monday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And each one, Shannon and John, they have their own expertise. Shannon had cancer. John overcame alcohol. If anyone has any of those issues, please check them out on the ExJW website. Also, we have, if you scroll down a little bit, we have Dr. Ryan Lee. He is a certified therapist. All of these folks were Jehovah's Witnesses. Reverend David Stambaugh, he's the one that works on our website. And thank you so much, David. Jamie Bond is a social worker. You want to do a few?
No, go ahead.
Gary Alt is a life coach. Michael Shemwell is a life coach. Halima Butler is also a certified social worker. And again, all of these folks were Jehovah's Witnesses, so they understand our difficulties. Aubrey Cruz is a life coach. And again, just tap on their pictures. It'll give their information, how you can contact them, their background. And we're hoping to add more. If anyone knows of any life coaches, therapists, hey, Sister Willow, this is Stephanie Lynn Carson and hubby Brian Chase.
Welcome.
Nice to see you all.
Yeah.
And anyone else new that we missed?
Glad you're here.
Yes. If we could just send out some positive thoughts and energy. We've got a few that are dealing with cancer. Karen from Arizona. She's been through chemo and now she's in the immunotherapy. We want to say hello to Karen. Also, Sharon in Virginia, Celeste in California, and Teresa in New York. Teresa's surgery is scheduled for June 16th. It's coming up soon. She'll be leaving soon for New York City. The surgeon is confident and has a very positive attitude. So we also want to send positive energy. We do not want to forget Debbie Moore. Debbie has been going through some excruciating pain with her leg. She's got all sorts of complications. I talked to her on the phone last night. It was difficult for her to talk, but she did. So if you could just send out some positive thoughts, if you believe in prayer, whatever you believe in, they'll all appreciate it. So please send your regards to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much going on now.
Yes.
And everyone, I'm sure, is going through a lot. Plus, I'm sure there's things in the news that people are concerned about. And we need to take a view of it that's going to keep us strong.
Dallas said, Joe and Fran, please greet Sharon in Virginia for me. I love her. Yes, we love Sharon, and we'll send that on to her, Dallas. And hopefully maybe she can listen in.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to go into the video first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
The video talks about... got my notes
I'm
here.
glad you got your notes.
Yes. Well, we had a couple different videos, but the one that we chose was on religion. And religion was invented by humans, not God. So just listen in and see what you think, and we'll have some comments later, and Joe's got some ideas.
And would like your feedback as well.
People have always looked for patterns, answers, and meaning. That's what our brains are wired to do. When lightning struck the ground and fires broke out in ancient forests, the earliest humans didn't understand why, but they needed a story, so they created one. The sky wasn't just angry, it was a god. The rain wasn't just water, it was a gift. The sun wasn't just a star, it was something watching over them. The moment humans became self-aware enough to ask, "Why are we here?" was also the moment fear took root. Fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of meaninglessness. And out of that fear, religion was born. Not as a revelation, but as a coping mechanism. This wasn't a divine communication, it was guesswork. Early societies created gods that looked like them, thought like them, punished like them, rewarded like them. These gods had human moods. They could be jealous, angry, forgiving, or vengeful. They needed sacrifices, temples, and endless praise. In other words, they behaved suspiciously like the people who invented them. Every ancient culture had its own creation myth. The Babylonians believed the world was formed from the corpse of a defeated goddess. The Greeks thought the gods lived on a mountain and meddled in human affairs out of boredom or spite. The Norse imagined a giant cosmic tree connecting all realms. These myths weren't isolated stories. They were belief prints for belief systems that gave people structure, order, and authority. But none of these stories came from a god. They came from human minds trying to explain a reality too complex and chaotic to understand without narrative. Over time, the stories became traditions. The traditions became doctrines, and the doctrines became untouchable. The more people invested in them, the more dangerous it became to question them. Religions evolved alongside civilizations. As empires grew, religion became a tool for political power. Pharaohs claimed they were gods. Kings said their authority came from heaven. Rulers used religion to justify wars, conquests, slavery, and control. If you disagreed with them, you weren't just wrong, you were a heretic. And that made you an enemy not just of the state, but of the divine. This wasn't about truth, it was about obedience. Even the most widely followed religions today are based on ancient texts written by people who lived in isolated tribal societies. These people didn't understand disease, astronomy, or biology. They thought illness came from demons and the stars were holes in the sky. They weren't receiving cosmic messages. They were recording their best guesses about how the world worked, wrapped in metaphors, myths, and rules for survival. And those guesses stuck. Not because they were accurate, but because they were useful. Religion gave people comfort in death, a sense of belonging, and a reason to behave. But it also came with baggage, intolerance, fear, guilt, and blind submission. People didn't stop to ask whether the stories were true, they asked whether the stories worked. Even when religions contradicted each other, the basic formula stayed the same. A powerful being watches everything, rewards the faithful, punishes the disobedient, and promises something better after death. This idea was easy to sell because it addressed our deepest fears: loneliness, uncertainty, and mortality. But just because an idea is comforting doesn't make it true. Religion claims to answer the question science is still working on. How did the universe begin? What happens after death? Why are we conscious? But these answers are packaged in old language and dogmatic thinking. They require no evidence, only belief, and that belief is protected by emotional walls, rituals, taboos, and threats. Once belief becomes sacred, it becomes unchallengeable, and when something can't be questioned, it becomes dangerous. Over time, the world has become more connected. Cultures mix, ideas spread, scientific discoveries continue to replace ancient assumptions, and yet religion still lingers, not because it keeps proving itself, but because it keeps adapting. It rebrands, it softens its edges, it incorporates new language, but the foundation remains the same: authority without evidence. What's more revealing is how similar religious systems are across history. Polytheism and monotheism aren't opposites, they're different strategies for organizing power. In both cases, you have a divine structure that grants legitimacy to rules, leaders, and institutions. Whether it's Zeus or Yahweh, Odin or Allah, the concept remains. Someone higher is watching, and you are accountable not just to laws, but to beliefs. Religion didn't fall from the sky, it was built, brick by brick, story by story, by people who wanted to make sense of life, justify their rule, or guide their communities. And like any human creation, it carries the fingerprints of its creators: tribalism, superstition, hierarchy, and fear. That's why religious texts reflect the prejudices of their time. They contain misogyny, slavery, violence, and ignorance, not because a god inspired them, but because the people who wrote them lived in brutal, unjust societies. These texts weren't ahead of their time, they were products of it, and yet billions still treat them as timeless truth. Take the concept of sin. It's not a natural law, it's a social invention. Sin isn't just about morality, it's about control. Once you convince people they're broken by default, you can sell them salvation. And if that salvation is only available through one path, one book, one leader, then you have a monopoly on meaning. That's not spirituality. That's marketing. We've made enormous progress in understanding the world, evolution, neurology, cosmology, but many still prefer stories written when people thought the earth was flat and disease was a punishment. Why? Because those stories provide certainty. And humans crave certainty, even if it's false. But progress doesn't come from certainty. It comes from doubt, from asking better questions, from admitting we don't know everything and being okay with that. The idea that a supernatural being created the universe, selected a group of people, dictated rules, punished enemies, and now watches over everything sounds less like a universal truth and more like a myth passed through generations until it hardened into dogma. We don't treat other ancient beliefs with the same respect. No one sacrifices goats to guarantee a good harvest. No one prays to the sun for fertility. Those were once sacred too, but they faded, not because someone disproved them, but because culture moved on. Religion persists because it taps into our psychology. It offers community, purpose, ritual, and meaning, but those needs can be met without superstition. We can build ethics through empathy, not fear. We can find connection without hierarchy. We can create meaning without mythology. The gods didn't create us, we created them, because we were scared, curious, and desperate for order. And now that we understand more, we owe it to ourselves to question what we've inherited. There is no shame in recognizing that religion was humanity's first draft at understanding life, but it's a draft filled with errors. The problem comes when we treat that draft as the final version. Belief without evidence is not a virtue, it's a vulnerability. The fact that so many religions contradict each other but claim absolute truth should be enough to raise suspicion. If any one of them were clearly correct, the others wouldn't survive. But they do. Because belief isn't based on truth. It's based on repetition, emotion, identity, and fear. We don't need to be afraid anymore. We can honor our ancestors without repeating their mistakes. We can appreciate myths without living by them. We can respect tradition without submitting to it. Religion is not a divine gift. It is a human invention, born out of confusion, sustained by fear, and passed down through obedience. But like every invention, it can be retired. When we stop mistaking old stories for eternal truths, we free ourselves to write new ones based not on what we fear, but on what we know and what we can become. And what we can become is not limited by the boundaries of ancient belief. Our potential doesn't need to be filtered through dogma. It doesn't need approval from an invisible overseer. It needs curiosity, compassion, and courage. The very things religion once tried to explain, life, death, morality, are now better understood through evidence, reason, and shared human experience. Some argue that without religion, people would lose their moral compass, but morality existed long before Scripture. We see it in animals, cooperation, empathy, reciprocity. Morality is part of our evolution. It's what helped us survive as a species. And when we understand that kindness, fairness, and empathy are useful for everyone, not because we fear hell, but because they build stronger communities, we don't need commandments carved in stone. We've already replaced religion in so many parts of life. We don't rely on prayer to cure disease, we use medicine. We don't ask priests to predict weather, we use satellites. We don't consult holy texts for laws, we use constitutions and courts. The places where religion once ruled are now managed by human knowledge. So why should we keep pretending that ancient myths hold the final answers to our biggest question? The truth is, we hold on to religion not because it's true, but because it's familiar. Because letting go feels like betrayal to our families, our cultures, our past selves. But growth always begins with discomfort. And asking hard questions is not betrayal, it's bravery. Every religion teaches obedience, but progress comes from rebellion, from asking, what if this isn't true? And following the evidence wherever it leads. Not just because we want to be right, but because we want to be free. Free to think, free to choose, free to build a better world, not one promised in an afterlife, but one that exists here and now. Religious belief thrives on early indoctrination. Most people follow the religion they were born into. not because they chose it after careful comparison, but because they were never taught to question it. Belief becomes a default setting, and that's why it feels so real. But reality doesn't care how we were raised. It only cares about what's actually true. When we start questioning those default settings, the world gets bigger, the lines blur, things become uncertain, but they also become honest. And in that honesty, we find something stronger than blind faith. We find clarity. There's no evidence that any god ever spoke to humans, but there's overwhelming evidence that humans have been speaking for gods for thousands of years, writing for them, fighting for them, killing for them, and rarely, if ever, stopping to ask whether the voice they heard was divine or just their own. Religious stories often come with promises, eternal life, divine justice, cosmic love, but they also come with threats, eternal punishment, damnation, judgment. The offer of heaven means nothing without the fear of hell. And both are tools of manipulation, carrots and sticks wrapped in holy language. You're taught to feel broken, then offered a cure. You're told you're sinful, then promised forgiveness, but only if you obey. That's not spiritual guidance, that's psychological conditioning. There's a reason religions target the vulnerable, the grieving, the lonely, the desperate. People at their lowest are more open to hope, any kind of hope, even if it comes wrapped in myth, even if it demands their loyalty, their money, their silence. And once someone's inside, it becomes harder to leave. Social pressure, guilt, fear of eternal consequences, they all build a cage. And the longer someone stays, the more their identity wraps around the bars. But there is a way out, and it doesn't require new dogma or another belief system. It requires honesty, intellectual honesty, the willingness to say, "I don't know," instead of pretending to know the unknowable. That's not weakness, that's integrity. Religion claims to answer everything, but it's the kind of answer that stops you from asking more, the kind of answer that ends curiosity. That's not an answer, it's an escape. We've come far as a species. We've decoded the human genome, landed robots on Mars, split atoms, connected continents with information. Yet many of us still look to books written by desert tribes thousands of years ago for moral guidance. That gap between knowledge and belief is not harmless. It shapes education, it influences policy, it fuels conflict, it slows progress, because when belief outweighs evidence, reason becomes the enemy. Religion didn't begin with gods, it began with people, scared, curious, imaginative people, and they made stories to cope, stories that grew into systems, systems that turned into institutions, institutions that demanded loyalty. And they succeeded, not because they were true, but because they offered structure in a chaotic world. But we're not in that world anymore. We don't need myths to explain thunder. We don't need scriptures to tell us killing is wrong. We don't need divine permission to be good to each other. We are capable of building meaning on our own. And the fact that we can do that, without gods, without threats, without promises of paradise, is what makes us truly human. The idea that religion was invented by humans is not controversial when you look at it closely. Every religion has a birth date, a founder, a history, a set of texts written by human hands. It's not mystical, it's cultural. It's historical, and once we stop pretending otherwise, we can start focusing on the kind of future we actually want. A future based on truth, not tradition. A future shaped by evidence, not superstition. A future where meaning is made, not imposed. No god wrote religion, we did. And that should be a reason for hope. Because if we made it, we can unmake it. And if we unmake it, we can build something better, together. We can build something that values curiosity over conformity, something that rewards questions instead of punishing them, something that doesn't rely on ancient fear to hold modern minds hostage. We don't need invisible authorities to live moral, meaningful lives. We need education, empathy, and the courage to admit when we're wrong. Those things come from progress, not prophecy. Many people say religion gives them peace, but peace that depends on fantasy isn't peace, it's avoidance. Real peace comes from facing reality, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Life has uncertainty. It has suffering. It has mystery. But those things don't make us weak. They make us human. And being human doesn't require worship. It requires awareness. There's a quiet strength in admitting we don't have all the answers. It's what pushes science forward. It's what fuels discovery. It's what leads to real understanding, not recycled beliefs. The stories we tell shape how we live. And when those stories are based on fear, guilt, and blind loyalty, they shrink our world. They limit who we can become. But when we build our worldview on evidence, on logic, on shared human values, we grow. We connect. We evolve. Religion was an early attempt, a first step, but we're not at the beginning anymore. Holding on to ancient stories doesn't make us faithful. It makes us stagnant, and no progress ever came from staying still. The fact that religion still holds so much influence shows how powerful ideas can be, even when they're wrong. That's why it's important to ask, where did these ideas come from? Who benefits from them? And why are we still protecting them? There are thousands of gods people have worshipped throughout history. They've all had their followers, their temples, their rituals, but almost all of them have faded. Not because they were disproven, just forgotten. The gods of today are no different. They only seem permanent because we keep repeating their stories. But repetition doesn't make something true. It just makes it familiar. Familiar isn't the same as factual. Comfort isn't the same as clarity. Belief isn't the same as truth. The more you study religion, the more human it becomes. The language, the structure, the motives. It all reflects our psychology, not divine intervention. Religion tells us we're broken. It then offers to fix us. But we were never broken to begin with. We were curious. We were afraid. And we tried to make sense of things the best we could. That's not sin. That's survival. Today we have better tools, better data, better methods. We don't need to cling to ancient guesses when we have modern knowledge. People often say religion gives life meaning. The meaning isn't something given. It's something created. And the most powerful meaning is the one you build yourself, not the one handed to you with threats and promises. We owe it to ourselves to move forward, and to think for ourselves, to question what we were told, and to do it without fear. Because fear has been religion's strongest weapon. Fear of death, fear of punishment, fear of being alone. But you don't need religion to face those fears. You need truth. You need honesty. You need the willingness to see the world as it is, not as a storybook told you it should be. Religion wasn't created by a god. It was created by people just like us. People who didn't know what we now know. People who were doing their best to explain a world they couldn't understand. Now we understand more. And that understanding gives us a choice to keep pretending or to move on. Moving on doesn't mean disrespecting the past. It means learning from it and refusing to be trapped by it. We can live moral, joyful, compassionate lives without pretending that ancient texts hold all the answers. We can face the unknown without inventing stories to make it feel smaller. And we can finally stop worshiping the tools we once used because now we've outgrown them. Religion was a product of our past, but it doesn't have to be part of our future. That future is ours to build. not by gods, but by people awake, aware, and unafraid.
Okay, we're back. Had a lot of good comments. We were reading them. We appreciate your input.
You probably picked up some different points there, different reasoning, different insights. And obviously it's biased. It's biased against religion. It's not biased against goodness. It's not biased against spirituality. It's not biased against morals. It's not biased against anything good. It's just simply biased against religion. So if we can break that down, we can get some clarity on, where religion fits into all those things. Because if you believe that morals are good, spirituality is good, clarity, community, etc., then all we have to do is determine how important the subject, religion, is to those things, and to my life, and to your life, and to anyone's life, the life of everyone around us. So there's a point of view there. And the point of view, obviously, I'm going to believe is based on a person's experience with it. I'm going to give my point of view. My point of view is I've been deeply involved in two religions. I was brought up and raised Catholic grade school, also Catholic kindergarten, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and for I guess that's at least 12 years at least.
Mhm.
No, Catholic high school.
Yeah,
Close to
12 altogether.
Right.
K
I was
through
19,
12.
18 or 19 at the time. And then I have a point of view of that religion. I was in it. I watched the effects of it and what happened in it, and I formed a point of view. And then we chose to explore another religion, Jehovah's Witnesses, or the Watchtower Corporation religion, for 36 years. In fact, we, not just personally, we raised children in it. So we got a chance to see the children's relation and reaction, as well as our own. Us coming from another point of view, them, well, just being born into that point of view. So we see differences. And I have certain points of a point of view because of that. And
I do too.
sure you do too.
Mhm. And we don't necessarily agree on each other's points, but that's okay. We don't have to.
No. And I can't judge for you or anyone else your point of view or your evaluation of either Catholic religion or the Witnesses or any other religion. It's your point of view. It's your judgment. Mm-hmm. And you will benefit or you'll suffer from your judgments. And I will for mine. I had the realization that a child who is growing up, an infant, let's just say an infant who is just born, is absolutely, totally vulnerable and needy for the total care of a mother and father, a family, basically a unit, at least a mother, because I'm sure there's a lot of mothers out there who did not have the support of another man. I recognize that. And they were totally dependent on you as a mother. And to the extent that you protected and raised that child, they grew up. Now, this is interesting, though. The second year of their life probably was not the same as the first year. First year, they were totally vulnerable, totally incapable of everything. except doing things that you needed to work for. You had to clean them, you had to protect them, you had to listen for them all the time, you had to feed them, and you had to nurse them when they were sick, etc., etc., etc. Second year, when they're 2 years old, now they are more capable, and they say that's the terrible twos. Now they're capable of doing things that aren't so attractive. Well, it wasn't that way before. Before, they didn't show any signs of what's called will. Their will, their desires to project themselves, to do what they wanted to do, and not what you want them to do. And they hit 3. Well, needless to say, before that, they probably started even feeding themselves, I would assume. You fed them, you stuck spoons in their mouth, or whatever you did. Well, then came a point where as they were growing, they grabbed something that normally you would have had to have given them, food, a piece of food. They grabbed it. I don't know if you noticed that, but we noticed that with our 4 children. They reached out personally. They weren't taught this, but except for watching you, they reached out and grabbed something and went to put it in their mouth or their face, wherever they put it. They're starting to become what's called independent. How did you feel about that? How did you feel about that when they were doing that? They started to act independent.
Well, it kind of had mixed feelings because, hey, I'm the mom, I want to take care of them. But in the other way, I was glad because we had 4 all together, and I was glad to see them, being a little independent.
Oh, okay. Now you wouldn't give them a knife and have them start cutting up things with it, would you, at that point?
Not at that point.
No,
No.
they're not ready for that. They'd hurt themselves or someone else. Not ready.
Right.
But yet comes a point, they're going to be more capable of doing something else. 2, 3, 4. It's called child development because as they grow, they're developing abilities, their mentality, their will, their abilities with their hands, their eye-hand coordination, their ability to walk around or run around, no longer crawl. Whole new story. Mommy's not going to have to do the same thing she used to do before.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't want the child to do that. No. They needed me feeding them. I'm going to continue to feed them. No, you're not going to feed yourself. You must be fed by me. Oh, wow, excuse me. Here the kid is showing some independence, and now mommy wants to continue to feed the child. Oh, you've got these thoughts to do something. No, you can't have these thoughts. I'm not you. I don't want you to have those different thoughts, different desires. Oh, you want to be more independent? I don't think you should be independent at all. No, mommy wants this. Mommy wants you the way you were, dependent. I will feed you. You eat what I give you. No. That other food that you find interesting, no good. Not for you. I will show you what's good. Holy smokes. So that means that kid's going to grow to be a teenager, and you're still going to do that to the teenager?
There's a name for that. Is that what you're going to get to?
Well, you mean if a mother continued doing that? In other words, if they didn't let the child grow and become independent, developing thinking abilities, move on in the world, it's called a devouring mother. I'm not going to let you grow up. I want you just the way you were. Why? Well, because that's the way I want you. I derive satisfaction from, I derive control. I like control. I don't like you getting out of my control. Well, let's say it's a farm, for example. Let's say it's a farm. And let's say mommy's going to have as many children as it has because the more kids on the farm doing what mommy wants them to do, better it is for the farm. I don't know.
My,
Maybe it's-
my grandmother had 10 children and they had a farm.
wow.
So they probably figured, hey, the more kids we have,
Yeah.
we'll be able to work the farm.
Well, at any rate, that's called the devouring mother. When the mother does not let the child grow, it has its own motives for keeping it at a lower developmental stage. Well, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
what happens as you grow up? What do you want to do? Do you want to explore the world? Do you want to explore your own thinking ability? Or do you want someone to tell you, now here's what you got to think. Here's everything what you have to think. Here's everything what you must not think. Here's everything what you can do. Here's everything you must not do. Oh, and also, we're going to give you some prizes. Yeah, you got some great prizes coming. Great prizes, wonderful prizes for obeying all the do's and don'ts that we're going to tell you. Tremendous prizes. But to get those prizes, you're going to have to tell other people about the prizes and about how wonderful it is to get those prizes. And that's what you got to do. Oh, and you can't do anything else other than that because it won't be good for you and you won't get the prize. And in fact, you might even get a penalty. Yeah. If you don't do that, you're going to get penalized. You're going to lose something that you value. So you see how good it is? Because you're going to get a prize, because I know you need it so much. And if you do everything that we say, exactly the way we say to do it, think how wonderful it's going to be for you. Because you don't ever want to do anything on your own. Because if you do, we're going to make you pay, is what it boils down to. Well, that's a religion. Now, are all religions that way? No. Some are more subtle. Some are more blatant, like the witnesses. They'll make sure you do what they want you to do, or they'll hurt you. Oh yeah, or they'll turn their backs on you, treat you like you're dead. Okay, yeah, they got their ways. Well, mommy can do that same thing too. She can turn cold to the kid, and the kid can feel, oh, mommy's not very happy with me. I can tell. I want her to be happy with me, so otherwise she's not going to treat him very well. Oh, I can get her to treat me nice. Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep treating, getting this. Well, look at the relationship there. The kid's 25 years old and he's worried about how his mommy feels because she doesn't feel so good sometimes toward me, and I don't like that. Isn't there anything else in the world for that person? Is it just the mother? There's a whole world of life for that person. How are they ever going to experience that life if that mother holds that kind of grip on that developing human person that can grow into something wonderful, amazing, powerful, strong, looking forward to things that they can think of if she never lets them. See, and unfortunately, that's the way most religions have treated people, like a devouring mother. It's like, just let me grow up, will you? I want to grow up. No, you won't get the prize. You'll get a punishment. Oh, I don't want that. Oh. Well, why then, if that's the case, and if it's so wonderful to have a religion so you can get some wonderful prizes, and it's so fearful if you don't do what they say, why are so many people rising above out of that? They're ascending. Like a child from crawling to walking, standing upright. Why are so many people around the world basically viewing religion as like a devouring mother? They didn't help them grow. In fact, maybe that those religions actually did something, got them to do something harmful. There's so many people that would never hate another people if their religion didn't direct them to. It's been the cause of so many wars. All because, well, those people over there, they have a different faith. They're different. See, we're superior. They're not. They have to be eradicated. God will help us. Whoa. Okay. Well, I mean, if it's very helpful for that. It truly is. Religions have been incredibly beneficial for kings because it's gotten their people to go to war, other nations, where thereby they could vanquish those people, get them as slaves, get their land. Now my kingdom is bigger. See, it's really simple. It's really quite simple. See, religion serves a wonderful purpose for kings and emperors. But what it just does for people, basically, it utilizes them. It's very useful. It's a very useful thing to governments. Now, people benefit from religion, don't they? I assume they do. I believe they do. Now what I would wonder is, I'd like to know, will some feel that religion is beneficial? It's benefited you? How so? It's important to get both sides of this matter. I think I really do. Because I'm sure there's two sides to the matter. There has to be. Otherwise, well, there's two sides to every matter. There's more than two sides.
I know you've got a lot to talk about.
Not
Annie's also backstage, or anyone else that
Oh,
wants
yeah,
to come
I'd
on.
like to know.
Now's the
See,
opportunity.
we're open to what others feel, too.
Yeah, this is all about you, not just us.
I don't need to say that much. So,
Hi, Joe Fran. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear
Annie,
you,
how are you?
I'm doing well. I really enjoyed that video because I had watched it before, but it just brought out so many things that put into words a lot of things I had actually had in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a conversation I had at the door with a man, and I said to him that humans don't do very well without God in their life, do they? And now I said that. At the same time, I'm thinking to myself, but that doesn't make sense because religion has been the cause of so many wars and hatred. So he didn't correct me. He agreed with me at the time, but I thought about it afterwards and I thought that was not an accurate statement. Having God in people's life does not make them better. And so when you understand where religion comes from, then that kind of explains that.
Yeah, we have that experience. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie and Brian. Hi, Brian.
Yeah. Hello there.
Nice to meet you.
Greetings.
He's been jealous. I've been doing all the talking.
Not really. That's the way it usually is.
Yeah, he's the quiet one, and I'm not so much.
Yep.
But I had to chime in because Joe, when you were talking about how religion benefits the emperors and the kings, it made me think. But I know we've been talking a lot today about the podcast that just went out on Mike and Kimmy's show the last couple days with the new whistleblower, and the one that's helping the investigation, and he had the very first RICO case ever against Watchtower, and he went through and explained some things. I highly encourage everyone to go back and watch those two videos. I think it's imperative to understand what is coming out right now in Watchtower. I know I keep saying we've already had the civil rights movement, we're in the human rights movement, and we can hear these words, but to actually hear from other whistleblowers the type of information that's coming out. He was talking about money laundering. That was a big thing. Like, that's a new thing to a lot of people in the community. It's a hard enough pill to swallow to think about how, they've been allowing the hurt of children with, classic CSA cases, let alone, there's some people coming out now talking about satanic ritual abuse and what is satanic ritual abuse. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that and explain a little something about what he mentioned. He mentioned MK Ultra, and so the word satanic ritual abuse can be interchanged with the words MK Ultra. Because the government, it was a secret government program. You can find information on the CIA website. This is not something crazy that I'm making up. I believe I was a participant in the darker MK Ultra program.
So just to reinforce this, where was all this found?
Mike and Kimmy, you know.
No, I'm saying these things that happened, they happened within what? Within what institution?
Within the institution of government, but they've used religion, the dirty word for them. And the gentleman on Mike and Kimmy show, what was his name? Very brave man. John. Did you guys catch his name? Was it John?
John Cobb.
Yep. Very brave man. He mentioned Executive Order 13526, which was signed by Obama. So why that is important is because that executive order, it was for classifying national security information, such as secret government program. He mentioned Watchtower being a part of the Stargate program. Now we all know, maybe we all don't know, but in Texas right now, they're building a big Stargate. What is Stargate? It's AI, artificial intelligence. And you know, that can be a dangerous thing if we don't harness that artificial intelligence. You know, it could overpower us at one point. But Stargate actually goes back to 1977. It used to be a secret military program, which was about AI, artificial intelligence. So these secret programs that were in the past secret, they're now coming out into mainstream. This is how the world works. The governments and the kings first have the knowledge, the power, the technology, and they keep it from us until it's no longer the latest and greatest, and they have something way more powerful, and then we end up, they end up using it in with the the normal population for profit. So so there are programs, like the Stargate program, MK Ultra, which was a mind control program. Every cult, every religion, every cult has some type of mind control to it. And I think that's what your program tonight is kind of alluding to. Be a part of these religions as long as we maintain our own self-identity is kind of my thought on that. We do need community.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, thank you, Stephanie. Maybe we can hear someone else on this. Is that
we got a pasta dude and Seth.
I think a pasta dude was
here first. Yep, pasta dude.
You want to say something or say hello? If not, whenever you're ready. Seth and
Dakota.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You must have heard me.
Hey, Seth.
There you are.
Hello. I missed out on a lot of what's happening today because I just got here, but just wanted to say hello to everybody and join in.
Hello.
Dakota.
I think, Seth, the pasta dude was here. I think his microphone is working now.
Yeah. I can't stay long. And after several weeks, I figured out the tech. Battered old pasta dude needs to learn a lot of stuff, but I fought my way through. But what Stephanie, I guess, was just commenting on, everybody should be alerted to it's an investment of time. It's 2 parts. It's Mike and Kim's channel. And that guy brought out a lot of fascinating stuff, not the least of which is that case was dropped or thrown out of the court on a forged signature by a judge who was not there. She was signed out of the duty schedule. So another judge and a superior had to resign. And he just happened to know the original judge so well that it didn't make any sense that she would throw this valid case out. It's the Menlo Park Kingdom Hall fiasco.
Are you saying this was all corruption? Are you saying this
hello,
was
Joe,
all corruption?
You don't know, you don't need me to tell you. We talked at length, but yeah, there's a ton of stuff to see in that video. It's a methodical presentation. I used to be in that area, and I know the names he brought out. So, but it's so amazing. I know every time I look down the pit of the watchtower that it's darker and deeper than I saw last time.
Yeah.
There's no end to how corrupt this thing is.
This is
So
interesting.
just for everybody should check that out.
Yeah, and I agree. This is interesting. Now, we talk about corruption. We talk about thinking that, well, we can get justice from the justice system. Well, you look up to them and you realize, oh my God, there's corruption there too. And here we're looking up. We're looking up. The higher up you look to authority, what do you find?
More corruption.
Look higher.
It's incredibly scary.
Are we looking? So the
But
point
anyway,
is,
I just wanted to check in.
I'm glad you did.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Well, just the point.
Yeah, I got to go take the granddaughter over to the farmer's market over here. It's still only 5 o'clock our time.
You have fun.
And
Nice
oh yeah, the sweetest little girl. She'd be good pals with little Dakota there. But anyway, I got to go for now. But yeah, everybody carry on. And Stephanie brought up, good stuff to bring up. That is an important video. If you don't think you really, and the Masons, he gets into the Mason issue. I'm telling you, it's very important to watch that video. Okay.
It is
bye, everybody. Checking out.
Thank you, Pastor Dude.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I do want to say it is important to watch that video, but it's also important to take a keynote away from that this is what the investigation is about. We're coming out talking about CSA and satanic ritual abuse, and we have all these lawsuits coming forward, such as my own and many others for the child abuse stuff. But the real deep stuff, and that's what we want to hear. Is we want to hear from people. Mike and Kimmy are working on the same investigation, that I am. We're all just kind of collecting information for the investigators. And so that's exactly the type of information that we're looking for. So if anybody knows any corruption, please come forward. It's time to speak.
Yeah, time to speak is so true. And see, and this is where this thing about ascension, see, the term ascension, rise up. That's what ascension means, rising, as opposed to going down. Humans have been kept low through all the institutions, just like if a mother would have kept a child from growing, keeps them down. That way they can utilize them. They can keep them corralled together in a population. They can pass laws that they want to pass. They can get things accomplished if the humans are kept down low. Because otherwise humans tend to be creative. They have ideas for change. Well, they don't like that. See, government doesn't like people that have those ideas. Keep them down, keep them down, keep them down. They're looking, and so it gets the people to look up. Well, to them. Well, is that you look up to them for what? For everything they need, for direction. And you look, well, let's say the government was corrupt. Well, I look higher, I look to my faith or my religion. And you find out there's corruption there too. And you realize that ascension means to ascend out of that, and that means actually to go deep to look to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that they distracted us from, ourselves, who we are. Because they don't want us being who we are. And we're the only ones that are going to find our answers. Our answers. Because if we don't find out our answers, we never know who we are. We only become who they want us to be.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of ascension is ascending to ourselves, to being who we are. And that's, frankly, that's what's happening. We're seeing that happening across the internet. And the internet just simply is a collective reaction of people around the world, which we've never, ever, ever had before. Never had them. The internet has brought people and their growth about faster. And it's challenging everybody because usually people don't like to change. I like what I like. I grew up in this. I like it. Besides, if I change it, someone's not going to like it. Someone in my family's not going to like it if I change. So I'll stay with it because otherwise, they won't like me as much. Maybe they'll reject me. But the only way you'll find yourself is if you explore yourself. Otherwise, you have to suppress yourself. Religion says suppress yourself.
And that's going to take that's a constant too. I mean, the more you look into yourself, you may change your belief system 5, 10, 20, 100 times, and that just is a constant change. But it's worth it. The ascension part, I like how you worded the ascension in yourself. Once you find that, you're going to continue to purify it, but you'll keep changing.
Yeah, the only way we will ever find is by looking to ourselves. And that's how you know who your friends are. Your friends are others who are doing the same thing, and they respect you, and you respect them.
Yeah, because there is no self-growth from the inside of where we were. In fact, you were told to be substandard. No matter what position you held, you were substandard. Didn't matter. But, being able to look at your inward self, it really is freeing, and it brings a lot of happiness.
Yeah. I mean, it was a programming. They attempted to program. Religion programs people, and unfortunately, it does more than that. It also abused people, and that's why Stephanie and others are digging deep and showing that this corruption that takes place has to be undone. It has to be addressed. It has to be.
Well, if there is no ascension once you leave, then you're stuck in that same cycle, and the same things are going to happen to you, whether it's letting the CSA continue or it's going to happen inward with you. You're all constantly going to feel on that. So that ascension, that self-growth is needed, especially after you leave. If not, you're stuck in the same cycle.
So in other words, the question I know that people, the ones in the religion ask, well, where will you go to? If you leave here, where will you go? Well, the ascension.
The answer is not the same for everyone.
No, the ascension means I'm going to go to myself. I will go to myself. And whereas others might say, look for another religion. It depends on the individual. But we have to be careful not to. They say insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's why we look for changed results.
And the idea, Joe, that you brought up about turning to yourself, of course, that as a witness is such a foreign idea because that is total selfishness and arrogance, as taught by the organization. So you have to get past that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one way you can do it is by doing your own research, because in the Watchtower, they told us what we could read, what we could watch, what we could talk about. So now we're free to, watch whatever videos. I mean, videos like we showed, or you don't have to. If that bothers you, watch something else. But you can open up your mind and, figure out what you want to believe.
Well,
Yeah,
if I could share just something there real quick, it's whether you want to or not. I mean, like the path I took, I opened up the Bible. First, I just let her. I said, nope, there's no God, there's nothing like that. But then I turned to the Bible because I felt it, and I read things that Watchtower said was never there, or they changed the meaning of it so much, and it changed my thought process on things. But that's my personal. And if anyone wants to go in a different direction, well, that's their self-ascension. I like that.
Right. That's right. And just to throw out another concept, the idea was that there was a universal sovereign. In other words, someone that's sovereign as king over everything and everyone. Well, how about you? How about me? Don't I get any decisions over myself? What if I give all my decisions over to something else and I make no decisions for myself? What then? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Here I am, a human. The other alternative is that I am my own sovereign, and you are.
Yeah, if you let someone else pick out what your sovereignty is, then that's the opposite of human. That's robotic.
Yeah. See, the failures come in when a person fails to enforce their own sovereignty, and when a person doesn't respect your sovereignty. I respect your sovereignty while you respect mine. The world gets along that way. Mm-hmm. They kill each other when their religion tells them to kill that other person, even though maybe it's their brothers in another land. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for peace. They're ascending to new thoughts by looking to themselves and finding out that they have others next to them who are their friends and people and their supports. If I can do a little pyramidology here, you think of a pyramid. It's not just a triangle. It's a three-dimensional structure. You've got layers, goes to the top into a peak and a point, and you've got layers of authority starting from the very bottom. People have absolutely no authority. The very top, ultimate authority, whatever it is. And as you ascend through that rank, you've got increasing authority. One level has authority over the one underneath it. Well, each one of those looks to the one above them for authority. And if they keep doing that, because they find that there's corruption. Boy, there's corruption. I'm going to look above for there. They'll fix it. They're going to fix it for me because they're authority. And they're going to be my savior, the ones above me. And you look there and you realize they're corrupt too. Well, how is something corrupt going to be your savior? And you look above that, and oh my goodness, the corruption doesn't end. Corruption doesn't end. Who's my savior? Who's going to be my savior? And this is where you come to realize, and people come to realize, we are our own saviors. We individually. And so, well, who are my friends? And your friends are those other people on that level of that pyramid structure, whatever, who you exercise sovereignty with. They're sovereign. They respect you. You're sovereign. You respect you. There's a whole range of people that are there that are your people. Whoever they are, they're your people because you're like them. And you're looking to yourselves for that. And you see, you're not going to breach their sovereignty, and they're not going to breach yours. Authority has been damaging people for as long as we've known. In fact,
That's such a good thought right there. The authority has been damaging people. And that's something you really don't think of, because sometimes as humans, sometimes we crave an authority to tell us what to do.
oh,
But
sure.
it's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
it's natural, but that's not something that the inclination of our mind wants that, but it's not good for our body. It's not good for our mind to be told what to do all the time.
Well, okay, an example here, Seth. I want to drive. You want to drive. Well, I'm just going to get a car and I'm just going to go drive. No, you're not. You're going to get a license, Joe. Oh, okay. I've got a license to drive. Oh, and here's the rule book. You better abide by these rules, and you better obey the rules of the road with the signs. Because if you don't, authority comes after you, and it stops you, literally arrests you, stops you, takes your car away, takes your license away. Oh, well, okay, I'll just let them do whatever they have to do. I'll just drive the way I want and let them stop me when they need to stop me and take my life. Well, if you did that, you wouldn't have it for long. So instead, if you're sensible, you say, look, I'm going to watch myself. I'm going to govern myself. I'm not going to wait for the cop to stop me. I'm not going to wait until he takes my license away and realize that, oh, I should have. I'm gonna take care of this. I will. I don't need him stopping me. I know how to avoid it. And that's just one area where you're controlling yourself within your.
That is such a good analogy, and it's something that I'd like to pass on down to Dakota. I really like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, there are more.
Hey,
you're welcome.
Welcome, Gearhead.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm laying in bed so I can get off this foot, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
I missed the last week's show, which was a great show. This is a good show too, but
yeah.
But Ascension, I watched that video. I was thinking a lot about it. I think I was born in, and so my whole life was JW. I mean, I basically started to fade at 13, but I was so deeply immersed in an organization that it became such a part of me. It almost became my whole life. And then anything I did outside of that was just extracurricular activities. And when I left, it was when I left, I don't know I think I officially left in October 2017. That's when I just said, I'm done with meetings. I'm done faking it. I moved out of my house, started the process of divorcing my wife, but it wasn't until about 4 years later that I figured out where I was going and how I was going to get there. And I can't say that I've that I have an established belief system. It's growing and maturing as I go along, and I just absolutely love listening to the people on this show. I started in the chat section. I asked a couple poll questions about what people believe, and it wasn't to judge or it wasn't to critique them. It's so interesting to hear what people believe, and it helps me to continue to ascend. So that's basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah, humans like exploring. We're explorers. If you tell somebody you stay right here, you don't go anywhere, it's like, oh my goodness, there's so much to see, and I'd like to go see it. Well, we've got legs, we've got eyes, we've got a mind. They want to do something. They want to explore. And if we're confined and restricted from exploring, it doesn't work out so good for humans. It just doesn't. And that's what we've learned. We've learned that. It doesn't work out good for humans when you restrict them.
No, and you got a point there, because the organization basically says that they, in following their tenets, are what real life is, and that if you leave that, you die. Your body's alive, but your life, as you know it, is dead, and there's nothing outside the organization. And man, there's so much outside that organization. The people there, I remember, hearing from the stage, brothers, even my own family, saying this is the real life, in the organization, and talk about how great the brotherhood is, and how
Mhm.
I don't want to use the word ignorant, but how ignorant people in the world are to what the brotherhood has to offer and all this other stuff. And for someone raised as a witness in the quote unquote truth, you don't know anything else, and until you get out and experience it, even when you get out and start experiencing it, there's still that doubt in your mind, as to what life on the outside of it is really like. And then when you find out and you look backwards, you're like, holy cow, man, I never lived.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just scary for someone that was raised as a witness to step out for the first time. And I know from our conversation earlier, Joe, you were talking about how you weren't raised as a witness, so it was easier for you to see things.
Yeah, I could. There, don't kid yourselves though. Young people still face that same fear because they're faced with a whole world ahead of them to have to make decisions in. And let me tell you, that's daunting. That's probably one of the reasons why some opt into a religion to make those decisions for them. In other words, that's the easy way out. And it's not the right way out because it takes away from them their potential. You're giving your potential up. You just made a super bad bargain. You gave away your everything in favor for someone else's value, someone else's gold. They're going to get gold from you, and you're going to give it to them, and you're going to lose. And why do people see? And that's where even the Bible, the statement all the time that man has dominated man to his injury. It's like, what's a horrible statement? That's such a horrible, horrible statement of reality. And it's true. Man and his institutions has dominated men to their injury. It hasn't raised them up. It hasn't brought them up. Look, there's still wars going on. They're talking about solving differences with wars still. Well, I failed to see any way that people were raised up through religions. They weren't. They were utilized. We're at the point now where people are saying, stop. Just stop. Stop the bus. We want to get off, and we're not sure how we want to go forward, but we don't want to stay on this lousy bus. We're open. We're open for other ways to go forward.
And religion gets a hold of people from the time they're children by teaching them the Adam and Eve story. Yeah. So children are taught they come into this world and they're damaged, they're flawed. So now someone develops the structure. If you live within it, then you can get to a point where God will approve of you, but he doesn't approve of you because you were born under conditions you had no control over.
Yeah.
But you're sinful. So you need this structure to mediate for you between you and God, which is religion.
You had to be told you were sinful, though. You had to be told that.
Annie.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you reminded me. I've got a book here in front of me that was sent to us by one of the friends, and she just wrote down her whole life story. And she said it was closure for her. It was helpful for her. And I know Stephanie talked about MK Ultra earlier, how writing things, journaling, actually handwritten is so healing. And getting away from the computer. They mentioned today with education with children, they're always on the tablet, the phone, the computer at school. And when the computers came to school, that was a downfall They need to get children back to handwritten. And any of us that want to tell our story, we can journal. So just this one little excerpt, I wanted to read it, and it just reminded me of what Annie said. And this is from Laura. She said, "The children should never see these pictures," I said. "They have to," said the neighborly JW older woman. "They need to be ready and happy to be good and well behaved for Jehovah. Every time they act out of worldly behavior, it is your responsibility as a parent to correct them by saying, 'Is what you're doing pleasing to Jehovah?' But in my mind, I thought, maybe they are not going to look at those magazines unless they are looking at pictures on a page depicting paradise, fruit piled high in baskets on the top of black ladies' heads as they grinned wildly, little babies running after lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. JW men wearing khakis and short sleeve shirts, some with suits and ties, carrying lumber on their shoulders, also grinning wildly, no sweating, heading off to build kingdom halls. At least everyone was happy looking, I guess. I suppose those pictures were better to show the kids, but no, not those violent ones of killing." And we all know what she's referring to with the Bible storybook and all the violence that they showed.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. They started out very young with children and putting that fear into them. And they take on that fear and they go through their whole life with that fear.
But religion in general has done that very thing, because Christianity, at least, has done that to all people, because all Christians are taught that they're sinful. Jesus had to die to redeem them. And it all started from the time they were born. So, like Steve Ellis said, children are enemies, they're born enemies of God. And religion basically has taught us that.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fairness, there even are other religions, if a person checked around the world, that aren't based on fear. They're
Right.
based on, there are. So, I mean, if a person wanted, they could favor a religion where it was all promises. And it was all,
And it became bad enough within the sharing of the images and the videos and things that a governing body member actually had to go on a JW broadcasting segment and tell people, no, we have to do this. We get letters all the time. Why are you showing that? Why are you doing this? And in fact, that reminds me of the congregation I was in. There was a young boy, 10 or 11 years old, and the parents kept him home from a meeting one night just specifically because there was going to be a picture shown that really bothered the parent. And I kind of laughed at it at the time, not realizing how serious, that can affect a child, how serious those things can affect children. So it was quite a horrific event, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. The trauma starts young. People are finding this out. They realize they're experiencing this. See, they were told things. People have had the opportunity to experiment with religions. They've had the opportunity to invest their lives in it, invest their families, and they're finding out what the return is. You put money out for an investment, you expect a return. Well, if all you do is lose your money, or worse, get serious problems for it, is it a good investment? Doesn't seem to be. And people are just.
I had a friend who I showed a watchtower to, and he said, "What's with all the pictures? Did they have Kodak cameras back then?" And I laughed when he said that, but I get the reasoning behind it, because the organization used that imagery especially to indoctrinate children and to take away their freedom, to take away their self. That's how it worked for me when I was coming in. Some of the first things they do is show you pictures. Now they show videos. All the ministry is completely video based. That's to tug at the hearts. They're really smart. They're really smart about that, but it takes away their personal freedom right away. Because
the music. They play all this emotional music that is
right.
It really is.
And music gets to your heart, and pictures get to your heart, and videos get to your heart.
So what if? Go ahead.
It's also part of mind control because it's a known fact that those flashing pictures changing, especially in rapid succession, has a definite effect on the brain.
Yeah.
So it's also a way of wearing the brain down and well, there could be subliminal messages even with with the videos too. Oh,
So sure,
they don't have to be subliminal. They're pretty right out there.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what if though someone takes the opposite view and says, you know, we need to be trained that way. We need to be warned. It needs to be powerful. It needs to be graphic. We need the fear. Otherwise, we're not able to control ourselves. We need to be kept uh, safe from our own selves.
I took
And
that angle personally. I took that angle when people would approach me with things such as the little boy who I talked about. The parents missed the meeting because of that one image that was going to be shown. I took that angle. We need this. We need to be warned. We need to hear about the doom and gloom so we can put more hope and put more faith in the anchor of happiness. And so I took that angle. And I'm glad that I don't have to push that on my son.
You see, Seth, you can honestly say that I experienced this. I tested it. I found out personally what its value is and the effect of it. So
yeah,
obviously you can make a very good decision based on your personal experience.
yeah. And I do think I don't put it past the community at large. A lot of them know better. There's a reason a lot of them are not. The cult number is so small and they're leaving in mass droves. There's a good reason for that. Because people are smarter than what we give them credit for.
They say people vote with their feet.
Right.
And that's happening. That's happening a lot. Thank you, Seth.
I'm so glad to see Ruby. Come on, Ruby, I know you had some comments and we'd love to hear from you.
Hey guys. Yeah, I got a couple of thoughts. Well, number one, respectfully, I have to disagree with that video that was presented earlier. I just didn't like the perspective that it kind of gave on religion, but that's okay. That's fine. But I just hearing the comments about the images, like the books of Bible stories and stuff like that. That's where I can agree with everyone, is how the images were instilling fear, because you would see sad faces, crying faces. You saw the fear in their faces, even though it was not real, it was just a picture. But you got the message as a kid, like that was scary. It was scary to disobey God, because you already know that, well, what happened to people in the past. If they disobeyed God, they would die. So that was like, a no-brainer. So yeah, that's wrong. I do agree with that. But I still appreciate images of beauty, like the icons in the Orthodox church that I go to now. That was one of the things that I appreciated the most. It was because the images weren't scary. It wasn't inducing fear or instilling fear. It was showing the beauty of these stories. It was showing the faithful who became martyrs, or who like the 12 or 11 disciples, or icons of Jesus and stuff like that, or Mary. They were beautiful. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it could go either way.
Well, yeah, and they're by the differences in religions. There's some religions that take the angle of attraction to the beauty of God, of worship. Boy, that sure beats the horrors.
Ruby, I take it that the Orthodox Church doesn't do a lot of preaching. Like, how do they how do people come to them? I mean, they don't go door to door like witnesses
No.
did.
No,
Born-
so I mean there is like a outreach. They have a
Mhm.
person who's kind of volunteered to take that on, to
Mhm.
bring new visitors in or to show new people around, but that's
Sure.
not mandatory, nor is it told to just anybody. I mean, they
Right.
do encourage you, like, yeah, tell your friends and family, but
Right.
don't tell them about it. Live the life. They should be able to see Christ through you. You don't have to preach that.
Right.
It should just be seen by your lifestyle, by the way you raise your kids, or whatever way you
So
shouldn't
you,
be telling people is
so
basically
you wouldn't call that a high control authoritative
no
religion? No, it's not. It's not.
no, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's very independent learning, which is something I had to learn because I was really struggling. I'm like, hey, can somebody have a Bible study with me or something? And they were like, nah, we don't really do that here. And I'm like, what do you mean?
So it sounds like there's the opportunity for the person to go within themselves to
Yourself.
grow.
You got to do the
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're saying too, Ruby. We have to do our own. We have to develop our own, just like that little child that's growing up.
And
They have to take on, they become their own little individual.
Yes.
and I'm going to compare us to children. I am, because frankly we're older children.
Mm-hmm.
Because children are like young adults, young adults.
Yeah, they're like little people. Yeah.
And they're going to latch on to something, and you're going to think the kid's going to hang on to that forever. And all of a sudden drops it in favor of something else. It's like, oh man, and here, I thought that they were going to be an expert in this thing here because they were studying it all the time. It's like, no, they moved on to something else. Oh my goodness, here we had so much hopes. Maybe it was they wanted to be a doctor or something, so they had a stethoscope. I don't know. It could be anything. But no, here now they're into hammers. It's like, it's that way. They're going to awaken something new every day. So the question becomes, when does the road end to interest and exploration? Where does it end? Say, now that's it, man. We're parking here. I pitched the tent here. In fact, I'm going to put a foundation down, and this I stay. This is where. Is there an end point where a person has to be?
Yeah. I mean, is that supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think if you find your groove and you've found a good place in your journey and you want to plant your flag there, that's okay. Like, you can pause that journey.
Well, you did say if.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, honestly, I don't think it ever ends. I don't think you ever stop somewhere.
I mean, I will say that, and that from as far as I've experienced personally, it doesn't. It just doesn't. And how do I want to say this? And when I feel like, oh man, there's a fence going across the road here, and boy, I sure would like to get beyond that fence because there's something over there. But somebody put a fence here, and they said restricted, and I'm not sure why. See, we're that way. Humans are that way.
Yeah.
So they usually have to be convinced into restricting themselves. And, so long as there's an agreement, yes, I will restrict myself. It's worth it. I will. That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, it should be because you want to, because you have the free will to do so, not because some organization is telling you or restricting.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
I can't tell you the bitter, hateful, horrible feelings that middle-aged men have said, because they were raised, just as an example, in Jehovah's Witnesses. And as a child and as a young man, they were absolutely controlled to staying in and restricted from anything greater. I'm telling you, the person, if they had their chance, they'd commit a grave, they'd break a big bad law and end in prison for the way they feel because of what was done to them. And the parents thought they were doing the right thing, or at least they wanted to do that.
Or protecting them, because you want to protect your children from bad forces or from bad people that want
He
to
was
steer
30
them the
years
wrong way.
old. He was 30 and 40 years old. You know, there was
When
that.
grown men aren't even allowed to decide if they want to grow hair on their face. That lets you know it goes that far when it comes to restrictions. It's not even the big things. It's going to the little things they're making the restrictions on. And what is that? That's what causes like you said, the middle-aged men to go absolutely berserk, a lot of times. They can't even make those little decisions.
Yeah, and we're at the point in time where we've come to learn so much about ourselves. In other words, who we are, how our brains work, how our emotional development takes place. We know so much. In the old answers that they gave, we realized, oh, it's not that way anymore. No, I used to think this, it's not that. But yet, they're still going by the old rules. It's like, I don't want to go by the old rules. And, and this is where we have the opportunity to explore different things, like different religions. You've got that opportunity.
I wanted to ask you a question, Joe. Are you equating religion and like God or a higher power, or are you separating the two?
No, religion is not God.
Right.
No, religion is man's institution.
Okay.
God is, what's God? In fact, I mean, if you want to get cute about it, God, it's not a name. Maybe it's a title. But also you can look at it as guardians of doctrine. In other words, the religion is the guardian of the doctrine. So in other words, if you want to be part of that religion, the heads of the religion guards the doctrine and say, you believe this doctrine. We're the guardians of that, not you. You don't get to make it up. We make it up. You believe it. You don't believe it, you're out. You're not part of this religion. You abide by this view. Now, what if someone says, yeah, but man, I don't think God's that way. I mean, I don't. I mean, I can conceive something so much different. And who's to say? I mean, what do? You duke it out with someone, say whoever wins, my idea wins.
Yeah, but that has happened in history already. That's where, like, the Reformation began, or those type of things.
It's not over.
And I don't think that will ever stop, is because people are going to continue bringing their own ideas and trying to change things. But
well, wait a minute. But you mean to bring it to an institution and trying to change the institution,
or making their own institution? I mean, that's the problem. And the video did mention that, and I think you did also, is that take all of that away. Are we good? I don't know how to question this, but basically what I'm trying to say is, can we decide that for ourselves? Or do we get that information from that higher power and we follow his rules?
Don't know.
There you go. Yeah, those are the things that I think about all the time.
See, let's say someone tells you, they're going to say, look, Joe, here's what God's all about. He's this, he's that, or she's this, she's that, whatever. And I say, really, it doesn't hit me right. It's like, somehow it just doesn't. But if you say so, yeah, if you want to be part of our club, you got to accept that. Oh, okay. I'll accept that. I'll subscribe to that then. Yeah. But then through inner knowing, which humans tend to have, inner knowing, they know things. In fact, sometimes they say it's like they're remembering things. They say knowing is really remembering something you always knew. It's like remembering, you're pulling it together, and it's like an insight. That's what it's like. And that's humans. We're that way. We're that way. We don't need someone telling us things like that. We don't need it. We don't need them.
I think
Yeah, I don't go. Sorry, Annie. Go ahead.
that's okay. I think the fact that we have a conscience, whether you want to say it's God-given or it's something that is part of being human, we automatically do have some sense of right and wrong. And studies have shown in cultures where there is no religion, there's less violence, there's not war, and people generally are happier. So
Isn't that
I think
pathetic?
that man does of his own have some ability to conduct himself in a way where he's not hurting other people. I think that's the biggest thing is we should know not to hurt other people. But religion centers the picture and wants to define everything for people. And
What if
that's
someone, Annie, but what if someone says, well, I don't use religion for them defining me. I use it because it brings beauty into my life. Ruby, what would you say about that?
Yeah, it brings community. It brings people in in my opinion, rather than dividing, because everybody is of one like-mindedness.
That's a great use of religion. It's a wonderful contribution of religion. Unfortunately, religion has taken such a wide control around the world that not everybody can say that about all religions. But so if you found something like that, it's a beautiful thing. It is. It really is. And you're the one that's going to judge that. You alone. Now, someone else may say, I get the story, I see the pictures, and I understand it, but it's not me. It's not me. Oh, okay. It's not you. No big deal. I don't think they hate people who say it's not me. I don't think they do. I really don't, Ruby. I think they have that view of people of a more agreeable nature toward people. Whereas maybe another religion said, if you don't believe our things, you're our enemy. You need to
that's a little too far. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
But if a person finds a religion that brings good to them, beauty, as you have said, community, that certainly is something that humans need. That's fine for that individual if they want to stay there. I guess my caution would be just be careful you don't lose yourself to it. Make sure that you retain yourself and be true to yourself as well.
And you can find spirituality and you can find all of that without donating your entire life to be used by an organization or a religion. You can find that, and you find that it is a special tight line, but it's something that can be done.
Yeah, in other words, so when you think in terms of steps in a journey, it's going to be situational, temporary. For example, if you're walking along a path in a road or through a mountain and through valleys, you're going to see different things along the way. In some places, you're going to say, "Oh, this is great. I'd love to stay here forever." I felt that way at times. Why don't we just stay here? This is beautiful. Oh, and then you realize, we can't stay here. We got to do other things. Okay. Well, we can revisit this. We can keep this in mind. We can put pictures of this place up because it reminds us of the beauty that we experienced when we were here. But we've got to move on to other things. Okay.
with a balance.
It's the journey. You know what I mean? It's when people get locked into something because they're locking you into something. Because unfortunately, that's what many have done. Many religions have done. They've locked people in because, in all fairness, if they don't retain their people, they're no longer a religion. Because it takes money. It takes money to have a religion. It takes money to build the building or whatever you do. It takes money. So you've got to keep those people coming because they're the ones that are going to build it and afford it. And that's the other reality of it. It's so human. It's so investment oriented.
If you can be with a group of people and still have your own mind, your own thoughts, and not have to agree, not have to be a part of group thought.
How about your own schedule too?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's that. I mean, community is important. And, if someone has found a community they really feel they fit in with, and we're not going to say, no one's saying that's in itself is a bad thing. But
No.
just be careful. Just be careful you don't get lost.
Community can go as small as to your own household. That's the thing. Community, that's something. It can be your own household. So yeah, we that's something. Let your schedule be determined by you.
There's another word for this community thing other than cult. Cult is viewed as a high control, destructive kind of community. We've proven that. They've proven it's destructive. But another term might be tribe.
Yeah.
Your tribe. It means the collection of of the folks that are comfortable living around each other because they have the same points of view on things. Maybe they eat the same. Maybe they engage in the same kind of work and building situation, and they dovetail. They function together. Their tribe, and it provides community, and it provides interaction and protection, and it's their tribe. And it doesn't carry the same control as a religion would. There still has to be. Go ahead.
Yes, even with that, you often had tribal elders.
Yeah.
You had a tribal leader, a tribal elder, but I think in many of those cases, it was not held as a hammer over everyone. That there was recognized that some decisions had to be made for the tribe, for what was good for the tribe. Indian tribes, for example, they had to decide whether they need to pick up and move. For the well-being of the tribe. So having some authority isn't always bad, but unfortunately, it seems as though humans very quickly will begin to wield that authority in a way that harms. So, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about tribes, how they function.
There were some cultures that worked just fine. Of course, for example, like the American indigenous in this country, Indian, whatever you want to call them, I'm not sure what they like being called, but they had a working culture. It worked for them. They had tribes. Unfortunately, the tribes fought among other tribes.
Yeah.
They did. Because they were vying for, I don't know, land. Maybe they couldn't get enough buffalo and deer in one area, so they had to. I don't know. Maybe they looked different and they didn't like them. Maybe, who knows? Or maybe they had different spirits that they worshipped and they felt. I don't know. But it just seems like there was always some kind of a struggle among groups. And so you have to be so careful because you get involved in a group and you're going to get involved in their struggle. They're going to have a struggle. They're going to.
I think it's important to try to retain your own free spirit.
Yeah.
So that you are making decisions for yourself and what you think is best for you and your children.
Yeah, otherwise you bump into the fact where you want to proceed with something and you find out that someone wants to stop you. That's like, ooh, what happened?
But Joe, there's another problem that I've noticed is that because of the traumatic experience coming out of a cult, a Christian cult, is that it like 95% has turned us off to to real Christianity. And
Well,
unfortunately,
some people.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I have not found, I mean, like I could find a handful of other ExJWs that are actual Christians today, like post cult. You don't see a
Yeah,
lot of Christians out here that have.
I felt that way too, Ruby. I felt that way too when I first left. I thought maybe I would continue in a religious way, and I just quit because I was so upset with religion and so sickened by it. But I knew something was missing in me, so I became Christian on my own. But that same thing, I looked for other ExJWs or other ex cult members, even from
Mhm.
other cults, and I looked for them, and I found out the majority of them they stay away from
Right,
religion because it done them wrong.
right.
What if it's all about what if it's all about a graduated learning experience, like grades in grade school,
Yeah.
where each grade you build on the last grade, like math. You know, you start
Mhm.
out with simple math, it gets more complicated, How about or thinking, problem solving, intuitive thinking, or logic, and
Well,
deep.
I mean, if I understand where you're going with that, Joe, my wife and I, we've had this conversation. She has a lot of regret being raised as a JW, and she has a lot of she wished that never happened. And me, I have zero regret that I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for a long time. I have zero regret in that because I learned so much, and I felt that was a graduation for me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and a level up. I leveled up.
Okay. Okay. Well, and
That's
see,
my
and that's the
personal thought.
point. And that's the point. Every one of us is at a different stage or a different grade, if you want, or a different level of ascension. In other words, I feel better in first grade. I'm not ready for second. Or someone in first grade said, "Oh, I'm ready for fourth grade. I'm looking around. I saw fourth. I
Yeah.
can handle it."
Or you could take a gap year and just pause.
Okay. Yeah. In other words, it's individual. But see, if you're tracked, they say, well, no, we just do according to this. You can't go according to your will. So you get held back, or even you get pushed forward. Because why? Well, that's the program. Well, who says? The government. It's the government school system. Okay. Well, how about now we're talking with spirituality and religion and this thing called Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Christianity goes way back before the man Jesus, way back. The Christ concept, the Christ conscience, way back. And even along the way, there were ones that men that were the Christ. Well, what do you mean, the Christ? Well, let's just say he was a tremendous example of what a man would be like with the Christ conscience, the Christ, um, the Christ mentality, the Christ image. He was a man and had the image. And then the one that we're familiar with, Jesus Christ, there was even the one that said, the kingdom of God is within you. And um, and he was even termed as the Son of Man. It's like he was just like a son of us. No, he came out of us. Here, I'm going to show you what you're like. And boom, this. Well, why do you have to do that? Well, because generally cultures lose a Christ consciousness. They lose it. because of all sorts of things that happen. And it's like something you have to remember again. And if Jesus was the one, the man came and he learned from all different things, because there are people that have come to understand that he probably traveled earthwide before he settled back down where he, I don't know, in Promised Land, wherever he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he had all these learnings and teachings. Well, he did not originate them. They were around before him. They were around before him in his writing. But he professed them. And he showed them. And basically, he gave a fabulous example of what it would mean to possess the Christ consciousness and to be the one that held the kingdom of God within you, not out there. It's within you. In other words, look, people, you're not dogs. You're human.
Right.
Here's what it means to be a human. See me? That's
Yeah.
you. That's like, be this way. So cool. Okay. I see. And as opposed to what the church or religion did to take him and used him as a figure that people had to look to for salvation.
And follow. Yeah.
Whereas he was showing who we personally were.
I get it. I get it. I asked all of those questions in the catechumen classes, and I I used to apologize because I'm like, you're gonna hate me. We're gonna be like here for 4 hours because those were my exact questions.
Yeah.
But I believe him not to be just an ordinary man. I believe him to be God incarnate. So it's not that I'm following a man, Jesus Christ. I believe it to be God.
Yeah, but I don't.
Right. But that's the good thing about it is that I don't have to preach that to people anymore. I don't have to.
And I halfway do. I'm right in the middle of you two. So that is such an interesting thing. Just on the screen here, there's now 5 screens, and we all 5 of us. But you could count my wife and probably Joe and Fran separate as well. They probably have separate beliefs and separate things as well. I'm not saying you do, but
yeah,
all of us, that's okay. It's
right.
okay
Look,
to have those separate thoughts.
See me next year, and it's probably going to be a little more developed.
Right, exactly. I like that. Graduation.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 10 years to even admit that I believe that, because I would never utter those words thinking that I was going to be punished for that, for changing my beliefs.
I understand.
It was scary, but
you gave yourself permission to do it.
And Ruby, if we talk to you in 10 years, you're probably going to have some other views, you know? It's a learning process.
yeah.
I mean, just this afternoon, because I just came from my personal Bible study with the little ministry that I have my study with, and I came back with different views already just minutes ago.
Yeah.
I mean, about an hour ago, I changed my views on something. So it's a constant.
See, you're going to hear something. I'm going to hear something. Fran's going to hear something of someone's belief system. And so, what do you think that's going to do? It's going to spawn a belief system in you that you believe.
Yeah, but I don't feel the responsibility to persuade or convince anybody of that. It's like I
You
know
don't
that
have to.
for
No,
me.
you
It's
don't.
a personal.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah,
No,
and it's private.
Yeah,
it's personal.
You can talk about it, but you don't feel that obligation to
Here's
persuade.
the thing. The person that you can connect with someone who has theirs, and they're going to connect with you, and you're going to respect each other for that. And because you realize that you're both on a journey of spirituality. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that's the Christ consciousness.
And even though I'm not of a religious belief at this point, I was born in as a witness. I still feel that the way I live my life displays godlike qualities, and I think that's the important thing. As you had mentioned yourself, Ruby, that people should see within you the things that you profess, or you don't profess, but you profess them by the way you live your life. And I certainly have no complaint over the example that Jesus set, whether, however you want to believe him to be. I still, to this day, try to display those qualities, whether you want to call them godlike or what. But they're there, they're in me. I am a product of the Bible because I was raised on it. So there's some good to that. I took away some good from that as well, is wanting to get away from the negatives.
Yeah, I mean, our life proceeds forward. We're not like how do I want to say this?
We're not stagnant.
No, well, we could be stagnant.
Well, yeah, we could.
We could.
There's people that have the same beliefs. My mother was raised Catholic, and she said, I was born a Catholic. I'm going to die a Catholic.
My grandmother said that too.
And she did. She died a Catholic, and she was happy with that.
And see, there's a loyalty there.
Good.
If the person,
if that makes them happy,
they want to work out that loyalty in their life, that is their faith.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, she didn't go forcing it down other people's throats.
No.
Right.
We want to say hello to Richard.
Richard.
Hey, Richard. You're muted.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
There you are.
There you are.
Yeah, I had to unmute myself really quickly. That's a very interesting conversation. I've been listening. Been really good.
Did you catch the early part of it? Did you see the video, Richard?
No, I did not. Got on a little
just
late.
just to bring you up to speed, the video was half an hour of someone detailing why religion has been basically a failure in the life of mankind if it sought to bring about peace and clarity in people's lives. It didn't do that.
No, and I agree with that. It has not.
Now, but on the other hand, there may be some benefits to different religions because of their differences and the way they fit into a person's path on their journey, because it provides them something that it's almost like providing kind of nourishment that they need and vision that they need and equipment that they need to go forward with their journey. And now they're looking for more because we're unfolding. We're creatures that unfold. We're not just, you see Joe when he was 10, that's it. That's all he is. See him when he's 10, he'll never be different than that. Well, we're unfolding, developing creatures.
That's so true.
You could say we're evolving. We're evolving.
We are.
Well, and to the extent that we're open and interested and venturesome, we evolve to whatever that brings us. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody's different.
I'm just reading some of the comments. Jeannie said, because we don't know about how we got here, there's always going to be different opinions. Science will eventually figure it out.
Maybe.
And if I never found out or never knew, that's okay. I'm busy living my life now. That's my personal feeling.
That's the way I see it too. I mean, I'd rather live in the moment. I feel like we don't know because we shouldn't live in the past or the future. We only live now, and that's it. That's all we have.
If we can do that, we're doing pretty good.
And if religion, my problem was that if certain religions want to invoke their beliefs or their system on me, that's the problem with religion, is when it starts to, go over those boundary lines. I don't have any problem in anybody having their religion, but I don't have to worship it, and that doesn't make me a wrong or a bad person.
Right, and see, and that's where it verified the fact that man's dominating man.
Yes.
You did it through religion.
Yeah,
And-
go ahead.
And you can't, when I say did it through religion, that means government assisted in religion. Religion
I
assisted
like
government.
church
You
and
can't,
separation.
I don't, you can try to separate religion out of government. In some cases, maybe they are really separate. In some cultures, in some situations, they are. But by and large, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'll talk to anybody about their religion, but just don't preach it to me. You know, I'm interested in, you know, how you feel, but just don't try to jam it down my
Just
throat.
as an example, did anyone see Rick Ferron's 6 Screens last Saturday?
Well, sure. I know Jane Spitfire did. I know
Well,
a lot of these folks.
Does anyone feel that it got really preachy?
I know sometimes it seems like it can get like that.
Oh. Well, it felt like it was getting really preachy. Now, when I say preachy, I mean people were expressing the superiority or the correctness or the real whatever. And it's like, well, what is this? You know, why are they preaching now? And if some people feel the need to preach, they're going to preach. They're just going to.
And that's what religion does. It gets people preachy.
Well, I don't think religion has to be preachy. I think there's religions that aren't preachy.
See, well, I agree, but I preach. I am a person, I have my own ministry in which I do reach out to others, but only if they're interested. I do not shove any thoughts down there like you're taught to as a JW, and I tell them right away, if you don't want to talk about this, just let me know and we can change the subject to people I talk to. But I'm not the door-to-door preachy. I preach to or talk with. That's a better way. I hate that word preach sometimes. There's a lot of there's a lot of heaviness with that word preach. I have conversations with good friends or coworkers that want to talk. And sometimes they bring up the issue before I do, and that's how I like it.
Look, we had so many, and we still do, have so many good conversations with people based on goodness and peace and love and whatever, and then the person recognized and said, boy, you know, what religion are you? And it's like, what do you mean? What religion am I? Do I have to be a religion? I mean, can I possess these different qualities and values, and can I express them
without labels?
Yeah. Yeah. Because then I'll even ask them, well, look, how about you? What's your religion? And if they say some named religion, I usually ask them, well, did you come up with that religion? I said, yeah, if you didn't come up with it, it's not your religion. It's a religion you subscribe to. What's your religion?
Yeah.
And if a person wants to find out what their religion is, they can.
Wow, that was a mind-blowing moment there, Joe. That was pretty good. That was deep.
Yeah, but it does get messy with Christianity, because when I ask that question and they say, oh, I'm a Christian, my follow-up question is, well, what kind of Christian?
What kind of Christian?
You know,
what
you
kind
can
of
claim
Christian?
to be
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
Oh, dear. And this is the problem with that, because they know that you label something, you identify something, now all of a sudden it's like a handle that's on you. Oh, good. Now I can control you with that handle because you said you were a Christian.
Joe. Before I forget, I remembered one of the things that I disagreed with the video.
Go ahead.
In the video, it was describing how people of the past, like, as if they didn't know certain things like science or math or whatever.
Right.
They were
Right.
maybe ignorant of those things, or that they believe that sickness came from the devil or something. I disagree with that. I think that those people probably knew more than us. They knew astrology. They knew navigation. They knew.
I think some did. I agree with you. I do
Yeah.
agree with you.
I don't think they were just like some caveman who didn't know anything. I think they knew more than us. I think
I'm
we
with
know
you.
less because of our
Yeah.
technology.
I agree. I agree. I do agree. So the question becomes, how is it that that information was like lost and religion overshadowed it?
Oh,
How,
because they were gatekeeping.
who's the gatekeepers?
I think, personal opinion, was the Roman Catholic Church. They gate kept a lot of information. They took books out the Bible, and they made those decisions based on their councils, and nobody had a choice in it or
Were
a
they
say in
more,
it.
so were they more powerful than the government, or were they the government?
Oh yeah, I do believe that they even controlled kings and queens. They were more powerful than them.
They say the Roman Catholic Church is really Rome that went into crypto, that went into disguise. It
Yep.
was the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So here you're wondering, what the heck's going on here? And so there grew that cozy relationship between government and the church, whereas really the church was the Roman government that wanted empire back.
Yeah.
They really corrupted man's spirituality. They corrupted man's spirituality.
Hello, Linda. Apasta babe.
Hello.
Hello. I had to
Wait.
unmute myself.
Yep.
I'm loving this conversation. This is awesome.
Oof. We're loving the people.
Yeah. How about you, Pasta babe? You have any thoughts?
So that video, I have done some research, and and within my research, I have confirmed that, in ancient times, people would come up with something that would make an earthquake or a catastrophe make sense, and they would call it a god of some sort, and they would do things in such a way to help avoid the anger of that, like maybe volcanoes or something, to help avoid the so they personified these situations. This is something we naturally do. At times we will personify things.
They had to do something, and that was the best they could come up with.
Right. And so that did happen in ancient times. And if it continued, that maybe would be part of maybe the roots of paganism, or who knows what, And I've also learned that the Jesus of the Bible was not the first Jesus that showed up.
Right.
There was quite a few Jesuses that showed up.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting, that there was more than simply the Jesus of the Bible.
I tend to believe, and I mentioned before, just to interrupt, that what was happening, that Christ consciousness that man possesses was being reminded of. They were reminding people of their Christ consciousness.
That's possible if I could figure out what Christ consciousness even means. To be serious, I don't really grasp that.
We have a conscience. Well,
sure.
How does that conscience function? According to what principles? In other words, if I sense something is right or wrong according to my conscience, what are the principles of that conscience? In other words, murder is right. Oh no, it's wrong.
No, I think
it's
we're
wrong.
kind of, yes, we can be guided by our parents, but I think that there's something innate in us, like we're born with it. We see it even in animals that have compassion for other animals when they get hurt and stuff. So if they could, if you can see it in this kind of compassion or empathy within animals amongst themselves, it's not far-fetched to know that we were born with it too.
But who put it in the animals? See, I went through the same thing you did, Apostle Babe, and I would question things from the opposite side of the tank, if you would say, the opposite side, and look at things. You know, what about this? What about that? Well, then I'd turn around. Well, what about this and what about that? And I think that the belief systems that we land on, they no matter if it's, you know, if you're talking about the Christian belief system or you're talking about whether you believe in vaccines or what political party you're on, I don't, if you always take a step back and view the other side respectfully, I think that's where a lot of things are cleared up in your mind. That's what helps our mind, is we clear it up there respectfully.
Yeah, like in the 80s, I spent a lot of time trying to be a conservative. and I listened to Rush
Limbaugh. Be fun, huh?
I listened to Dr. Laura. I was, you know, Bible Answer Man, all of that. And it didn't ring true to my conscience. All of it. You know, some of it, yes, but I wasn't, that didn't come, that's just not who I am. Even though I really tried to be a conservative, it just didn't work for me. And and I have respect for conservatives, you know, and where they're standing, you know, the ordinary conservative. I'm not talking about like far right conservatives or far left.
That's why I, you know, personally, I'm centrist.
That's the extreme.
I'm centrist because my views can change. That's what I like about it. My views can change and do change.
Yes. But, you know, like what Ruby was talking, you know, where she's at right now in her journey, in my opinion, she's right where she needs to be. Oh, you're back. I didn't see you, Ruby. I don't know. Were you here a minute ago?
100%.
I was listening.
Okay. I didn't want to sound like I'm talking about you without you here. Okay. That would be like rude. Okay. I think you're right where you're supposed to be in your spiritual journey. I truly believe that. You know, I was a Christian for 30 years after I left the Jehovah's Witness religion. And between the Jehovah's Witness religion and Christianity, I had about 7 years of being still mentally in the organization. Like if I was going to get back right with God, I was going to go back to the Kingdom Hall. As much as I hated that culture, to me, that's the direction, that's the way to get back right with God. But and then and I think that what you said earlier, Ruby, about the percentage of Christians out there, I think there's more than you realize. And I want to encourage you to look in Facebook for actual ex-Jehovah's Witness Christians or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses for Jesus. There is some more than like what you brought up earlier. You'll find them, and I don't know if you need them to be like.
There's many of them on YouTube. That's how I found the ministry group that I'm a part of. In fact, many of them are ex-JWs in my group, and so it's really helpful. Oh, the boy just fell.
Not the last time.
Yeah, and oh gosh, and you don't have to receive each and everything that you're told. You still use your own intuition, still use your own gut instincts. You know, if you find yourself in a group and they're talking tribulation, like the what is it, rapture? Some Christians believe beforehand, mid rapture, and after Armageddon rapture. But it doesn't disqualify you as a Christian. You get to have different viewpoints.
You just brought up a reminder of a song. Anyone know Jackson Brown?
Yeah.
There's a song called "For a Dancer." "For a Dancer" is a song, and one of the lines in it is, "Just do the dance that you've been shown by everyone you've ever known, until the dance becomes your very own." And it's just a really great great perception of our journey. Because, you know, I don't know how to dance. Oh, I see someone else dance. Oh, I'm going to dance that dance. And it's like, yeah, okay, I can do that, but it's not me. And you do someone else's, and you find yourself eventually, you're doing something that you do. And wow, it's become from everyone else. That we're that way. We're community people. We're social, man.
But you see, Joe, sometimes that can become a pitfall because we keep trying to outsource who we are when we should be looking inward rather than outside.
Oh, geez. But what the heck do I need other people around me for then?
Not in that way, because I am working on that. But
otherwise you're going to say, look, I'm busy, human race. Excuse me, I'm leaving. I've got to find myself, and I'm going to find. And as soon as I find myself, I'll come back to the human race. It's like, it sounds kind of crazy. It sounds kind of crazy.
But that's exactly what I did. Unfortunately, I was I was like a hermit or something. I was just underground for many years until I finally had enough courage to come out and be who I really am.
Welcome to the human race.
Yeah. You know,
we need you.
It feels so good in order to say that, Ruby. It does. It feels good to be able to say that.
And as much as I might disagree with you, Ruby, I am proud of you for being who you authentically are. I'm all for
that. That is awesome.
Yeah,
good for you.
I love the unity here. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, we need the courage.
That's part of our freedom.
Yeah, right. Part of the courage is exposing ourselves to others, and at the same time choosing to express ourselves. Both.
See, it's always a hot button topic whenever I tell my wife, even she hates to hear it, but I say, I believe a lot of the same things that JWs believe, because I do. I feel they have some Bible truths.
Right.
But that's my perspective of that. And so I'm even careful, but I have my belief, but I'm careful with what I say as to not hurt others.
Hey, Nancy, you want to say? Oh, I'm sorry. We just want to say hello.
Introduce someone else.
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone's comments.
Yeah,
too.
Nancy Scott. Hi.
Hi there, Fran and Joe and everyone. I just have to say I agree with Seth there and Ruby on the whole God issue. And it's been quite a journey. If I could just say a couple things. As Fran and Joe know, I left 3 years ago, and I was pretty lost there for a while. But prior to that, I was very, very spiritual. Even though I was in the wrong religion, cult, whatever you want to call it, not following the real Christ, because that's what it was. I was just following in the wrong direction. But after being lost and figuring that all out, I found the real Christ. And that is what's lacking in all of Jehovah's Witnesses, as we all know. They do not have him. They do not even know him.
That is very true.
That's the very sad part of it.
And I feel that there, I was on track to be a circuit overseer. So I was working my way toward it.
Wow.
Oh, you blew it, fella.
That was what they set me up to do. They had me working with COs and sub COs in order to train to be one, and I was on my way.
They were just looking for another fall guy.
I left.
Sorry, go ahead. Who was gonna go?
I laughed real hard, Seth. I think I said your name right. I'm sorry. When you said that, how you and your wife think differently about how you said, you're thankful for the time in New York, and she's really not. I had to laugh really hard about this because it's a very male-orientated organization where they build you up as a man, and they build us as women down. They really take us down from society at large. So they really oppress us to be a good wife. you know, so I don't,
Right.
and they were set, like what you just said now, they're setting you up to be an overseer. They, you know,
That's right.
the stuff that they planted in you must have felt amazing, you know, and
It,
you must
it, it did. You know what?
you were
And
in a great
I think I
course.
talked about this a little bit last week. It set me up with that narcissism is what it did. It set me up with that. So it did. It felt good. I'm not going to lie about that. It felt good.
Well, it gave you a sense of purpose, which we all like to have, a sense of purpose. But there is that elitism kind of thing that goes on.
Well, every one of us wants to feel worth. Every one of us wants to have a sense of worth.
Yeah, we women had to figure out a way to make sure that the man thought of it, even though we let them know. We had to praise the man for coming up with such a great idea that we kind of hinted that they needed to find out.
You know, the thing, my wife doesn't kiss my ring anymore.
Oh, bummer.
That's a joke, guys. That's a joke.
We're all going to get over this. We're all going to get over this and ascend. Yeah. Everyone's going to ascend, and you are ascending.
Well, mark my words. Whenever the whole thing falls, because the watchtower is falling, we'll be right here to rejoice. We'll all come together and rejoice. And it's going to be soon. It's not going to be far off. There's no way
it's fallen already. It's just going to change into something that no one is really that interested in. They're
exactly. If not, they're going to be identical to every other religion before you know it. They have to keep changing their policy.
Marketing.
It's going to be identical to everything else.
It's all about marketing. It's all about marketing. They're a money-making machine, and big money-making machines have to change with changing times. They do. And they're going to do that because there's money behind them. There's people who love money, and they're going to get all the help in the world to keep making money.
Was Nancy going to say something?
What's that?
I was, but I keep forgetting. No, but to you, Ruby, I wanted to just say, I don't know if you were, I missed part of the conversation because I got on late, but I just want to say what I am doing now, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with my training at Watchtower, because I got involved with lately, well, the last maybe year, into a lot of women's Bible study groups in these churches. I'm not part of any of these churches, and I never will be, because I don't agree that, Jesus wanted religion started. He wanted us to just follow him. That's all he wanted us to do. And, but going to these women's Bible studies, it's not only the people in that church that are going to these, they're all the churches all around. There's Catholics going to it, that other one. There's Methodists, and then there's the ones that go to that particular church. But what I'm saying is we're all learning together, and it is amazing. And I want to agree with Seth, a lot of the things that the Jehovah's Witnesses taught me, I believe is true, because it's outlined in the scriptures. I mean, I'm taking what they taught me. I'm taking what all these other ladies are teaching me through whatever they believe. And I think that's how we're all supposed to learn from one another, and it's been just wonderful. But I just want to tell you, as a former pioneer in that organization for 14 years, I'm used to being with groups of people and doing Bible studies, praying out loud. And I'm part of this now, but they trained me to do that. I'm not going to give them all credit, though, because when I was part of that organization, I studied the scriptures. I studied different characters of the Bible because I was a very timid person. And Jeremiah, Moses, other women in the Bible, they were my examples that I followed. It was not really the witnesses that convinced me, but I applied everything they told me to apply. And I was a good Jehovah's Witness. I applied everything.
I got to ask you, good job, Nancy. Good job. You were
Thank you.
Good witness. But look, at the end of, think about this. Consider the number of people that are in and among the group that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of 5 years, what changes might all of them go through?
So many. I mean, I'm going through different changes now in my life, and everybody's.
And so true with them. If they're left
Mhm.
free to change, if they're not restricted with fears and
Mhm.
and threats like they were in the witnesses, it's
Mhm.
only reasonable to expect that they're going to going to grow. They're each one in a different direction, and it's normal. So what's happening now is, people are being freed. They're exploring, but expect, deviating. And I'm not talking about deviance. I'm talking about there's going to be a moving around, and that's going to happen because people do that. People do that, and if there's different things that they can explore in different religions, man, that's great. That's great. They're
You
going
know
to
what
enjoy.
though?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, but in this Bible study group, we're all single-minded. We're all talking about the scriptures. I mean, we're all in unity, even though we're all coming from different, I don't know, different churches, different backgrounds, whatever you want to call it. But it's for a purpose. So in that, we are growing, and I can feel myself actually growing spiritually in these groups because I'm learning things I never knew before as a witness. And I thought I knew the Bible. I didn't know anything. And I'm so thankful that I'm out because I'm learning. I'm actually growing as a Christian now, and it's wonderful.
Can I ask you a question, Nancy?
Sure.
When you get together with these gals and have Bible studies, do you get to like bring up, this is how I see what this verse is telling me? Or do you get that liberty to look at scripture and, as Christians would say, let it speak to you, and you let it resonate with you, and then you can share what you believe it means? You get to do that in
Yes.
your Bible study?
Yes, and most of them have like concordances in their Bible. These people know their Bible. We were taught by Jehovah's Witnesses that, these people don't know anything. We don't. They know that we know nothing. We knew
The
nothing.
watchtower.
They're teaching me stuff, but I'm teaching them stuff too.
See,
So
that is such liberty.
it's mutual. It's so
And then
wonderful.
That's beautiful,
see me at the end of 5 years. Give a report at the end of 5 years on the growth of all the different people.
Yeah.
And it'll be
interesting.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
I just wanted to say that when we were in the organization, we didn't have that freedom to open up the Bible and let it speak.
You weren't even allowed to do it in groups. Yeah, not even small groups. You're not allowed to gather off and into a small group and talk about scripture. They even done away with the home study arrangement.
As someone who grew up in the world, we were used to groups forming and then subdividing because of the unfolding interests of individuals in the group. That was normal.
Yeah.
It was normal.
And even in the Catholic Church, we grew up when we were little with the very strict Catholic, the Latin Mass. And then when we were in college, there was more of a, singing and, guitars, and not necessarily in church, but like at the Newman Center at college, but it was still Catholic. So we went through this evolution in the Catholic Church, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
But then Jehovah's Witnesses, there was no evolution there. There was all.
It's like eating. It's like food. You don't want to go to the same restaurant all the time. Some do. Oh, some do all the time. Don't change a thing.
Right.
But others, they want to range around. They want to experience different things. They want something that still suits and fits within their parameters, but they want some diversity and experience new things. We're humans. Humans do that. And if religion can do that, I say that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, if I can interrupt, because Joe and I and Shauna came up with a description of what our channel is about. even after doing this for a year and a half. If you go to the more section and there's a description, can I just read it?
Read, oh, please.
All right, it says, welcome to our channel where critical thinking comes first. We're not here to tiptoe around opinions or political preferences. Facts matter. Feelings are yours, personal, and for you to manage. This channel is about cutting through noise to uncover what's really happening and forming thoughtful, responsible reactions. We support personal decision making, encourage acceptance of your own circumstances, and challenge you to think critically. By knowing our values, we build meaningful relationships rooted not in agreement, but in respect and shared strength. No spin, no pandering, just clarity, courage, and conversation. And I must admit, listening to the group here and in the comments, everybody is so respectful of each other, and we can speak our mind and not be judged. And I truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is a non-religious amen.
Right on, brother.
I just wanted to finish the point I was making with Nancy, is that in the organization, the leadership interpreted all scripture, and we had to accept what the interpretation was from the leadership, which is how they got us to believe that the faithful and discreet slave was a prophecy, when in actuality, I guess I'm getting preachy, but it's a parable. but they being the only one allowed to define it, we had to just accept that it was a prophecy, and we had to accept that God chose them. So that's I'm encouraged that you get to have that freedom of looking at a scripture and seeing what it says to you, and the concordances, and an interlinear or something, and you guys talk amongst yourselves. I think that's so beautiful.
And see, and that's where there's high level discussions about that, Apostle Babe, about how religion has to change to meet the real needs of people, rather than just control, like Watchtower did, and the churches and whatever, and also to be safe too, incidentally, to be a place where you're not afraid to take your children to.
Right, exactly.
So
That's a
that
big
the
thing.
pedophiles don't target you. So it's encouraging to see the changes take place. It really is, but we got to continue watchful. Here's the problem, though, with the pedophiles. If nice arrangements develop and people go to them, the pedophiles are watching. The pedophiles are going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful.
Yeah, beware.
Be careful. It's unfortunately they control. They do. They really do. And that's got to be one of the biggest unfortunate things for the gatherings, because if people look, we wanted our children to be gather with other children and other families, and I'm sure the pedophiles like that a lot, because they say, great, we like it when all the sheep get together, because it puts them in one place and we got our pickings. And do be careful. That's a reality. And until that's addressed somehow, until pedophiles are afraid to be pedophiles, that's going to be a reality. They have to deal
And they
with.
do go through the parents. They have to, become good friends of the parents to get to the children. So pay attention to your intuition as you're becoming friends to people.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate it's that way, but see, we're the ones that need to be on guard. We don't look to anyone else to. It's individual. The individual has to exercise that caution and control. They have to. You can't leave it up to anyone else. We're seeing a lot happen. We're seeing an awful lot happen now. Tremendous changes are taking place. And I think the greatest changes that are taking place are people are not only waking up, but, ascending like you do.
We haven't even seen the big shakeup yet. We've seen some shaking up. We haven't even seen the big thing yet. Don't know what that is or exactly when it's coming, but I know it's coming.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I tend to think that the government at some point is going to say, religions or Watchtower, just hand over your money. Hand it over.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Just like the Soviet Union fell overnight.
Yes.
It stunned a lot of people. They never saw it coming. And I think the same thing might happen with religions.
I personally believe that Watchtower is part of Babylon the Great. And when I left, I let them know that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were right on that one too, but they're part of it. And they're all going down.
Oh my goodness, good for you, girlfriend. Yes,
Someone's got to play that part, and I guess they're willing to play that part.
I am high-fiving you right now, girl. She told him on her way out. I love it. Y'all are Babylon the Great.
Well, the thing is, they're not even a religion. We've discussed this many times before. It's a movie producing realty company, and that's it.
Yeah.
Who has so many, they need the money, so they keep the indoctrination going. But it's just a real estate company that produces movies.
And they know that we know.
They're a false prophet, though, and they're leading people in the wrong direction. And that includes my family members, and I'm very concerned about their salvation. So it's a very sad thing. Very sad.
That's one thing that
In all fairness, is it our right to be concerned about someone else's salvation?
I believe so, because I think that why are we all here together now? Because we all care about one another. We're trying to help one another get through this life.
But how do you know where the person wants to go?
I don't understand that question.
Maybe your idea of salvation is no salvation for me at all. See, you may be making a decision for your family members that they would not make themselves. Is that your right?
Well, it's outlined in the scriptures, Joe, what the right road is, and because they're being misled by false religion, false teachers.
Is that your responsibility?
Yes, it is. Yes, because I still feel I'm a witness for God and a follower of Christ. And yeah, I openly expose things everywhere and where I go. So yeah, it is our job. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to, if we're followers of Christ, so that's where we differ. That's
true. But see, and necessarily is going to put you in opposition to them. What if your relatives look at you and say, "Mind your own business"?
Well, they don't speak to me because they're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that took care of that.
No, look, I get it. If we didn't preach, we would be blood guilty. Oh my God, I'm blood guilty. I didn't preach. I gotta preach.
The word blood.
Well, who said? It's like it puts the weight of the world on our shoulders, and it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
It just doesn't make sense. Now, do I wish well for others? I do. I do wish well for others.
Are we concerned about them? Yes,
do I dictate what is well for others? No, I don't dictate what is well for others.
I think there is a very big difference, though, in defining caring for one's salvation, hoping from your standpoint, and maybe mentioning it, but letting them make their decision. I think that's a very fine line you have to be careful on crossing.
Absolutely. See, and this is where I mean, even okay, if you want to bring in Jesus, his examples, what did he do? Who did he push? Who did he? He didn't stress over it. He didn't stress over any of that stuff. He didn't stress. And here,
I know,
witnesses.
it's just the human part. It's
I know. See, and that's the problem. They take advantage of humanness, that desire to see something come about anxiously. It's the anxious care, the anxious nature, as opposed to, I make my decisions and you make yours, and that's good. And I respect you for yours, and you respect me for mine. And I'm not going to require you to think my way, and nor me to think your way. This is what the smarter ones among us came up with to manipulate and to exploit, because they did that. They learned how to do that a long time ago, and we have to be careful. We have to be careful. We love each other, but we don't want to mold each other, according to our.
Bye. Tell them
Oh,
night.
bye-bye.
Say night.
bye. Good night.
Bye, Dakota.
No, good night. And forgive me if I'm preachy. Hey, get to bed.
Is he saying
Get
by
to-
Fran or by friend?
Night, night.
Anyway,
Night.
we'll be quiet now.
Ruby, you're going to tell us what the movie is tonight.
Yes, I'm looking for it right now. Give me a second.
Ben-Hur.
I wanted to mention, because I'm in Orange County, California, which is the next county down from Los Angeles, and watching everything that's been going on has really affected my nerves. But so they came into Orange County, which has a city called Santa Ana, and both of those places, Los Angeles and Santa Ana, are sanctuary cities. But
boy.
I just wanted to mention that.
There
I'm
are
okay,
hot
and I'm not
things.
out and about.
No, I wouldn't venture. In fact, it's supposed to get spread across the United States, possibly.
In most of the cities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll be thinking of you. You stay safe.
Yeah.
So what's the movie?
Okay, I got it. So the movie tonight is called "It's a Mad, Mad World," 1963.
That is wild. That is a wild.
Funny movie.
That's a great year.
It's a wild movie.
Yeah, if anybody wants to watch it, just go to Discord, and it's on the movie Discord.
There are tons of actors in there, tons of all different actors and actresses. Well, thank you for being so putting up with things.
We appreciate all your views and all your feelings and all your beliefs.
We don't have to have the same feelings.
No.
We really don't. We just don't have to.
We can agree to disagree. That's okay. That's good. That's how we learn.
That's what I like about this group, is that we all have different views, but yet we're still friends. In JW, you can't have different views.
No.
You follow exactly to the T just about what is in the Watchtower.
This group would not exist if we didn't have different views.
Yeah, I have different views from everybody here. Like, I see the Bible in a more metaphysical way. I feel like God is the highest form of conscious and the devil is the lowest form of conscious. So that's the way I see it, but that's me.
And it's,
and I don't classify as a Christian.
Someone asked me, and they were conducting a medical medical survey for our health insurance, and it took about 15 minutes. And one of the questions, she said, can you tell me your race? And I paused. I always
pause too.
And I said, human.
Right.
She laughed. I'm going to tell her. What do you want me to tell you? No. I don't even know if they're supposed to ask. But at any rate,
I like that.
I assured her I was human.
We want to thank Shauna for being
Oh, thank you,
doing all
Sean.
this
Yeah.
for us. And Ruby and Alora was one of the moderators. Thank you so much for making this all possible.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Love you all.
I gotta jump in with one more thing, Joe and Fran. Joe, you stopped and said the human race. We went to the doctors for Dakota one time, and they asked him his sexual preference.
Oh no.
He's a 2-year-old.
Are you serious?
They asked him what's his sexual preference. Yep.
You should have said deviant.
I should have said you don't want to know.
Just deviant. That's all. Sexual deviant. Oh my word.
Wow.
So just to cut in here, just on behalf of everybody, we want to thank Joe and Fran. I don't know if you can hear me okay. We want to thank Joe and Fran for being here again. Ruby put the link for the Discord movie tonight, so we do hope to see you on there. Please join the Discord. There's always somebody there to talk to. And we look forward to seeing you guys all next week. So,
and we're going to keep living our lives with love.
That's
say
right.
hello to Vern for us too,
right.
please.
We'll do that. So have a great week, everybody. Take care. Love you. See you later.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
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 We got to show.